This
Okay,
call is
Margie,
being recorded.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our weekly Business Builder call. This is Nina Anderson, and I'm super excited for this call today because I know we have a great leader that's going to be teaching us some great tips and tools to implement in our business. A little trivia for you. I don't know if you guys realize this, but this call was actually started about 9 years ago with myself and another gal who's no longer with Wine Shop at Home. And we came in for the strategic reason of helping people to look at their business from a business standpoint, to be able to build it and grow it and manage it from that viewpoint. And that's what I love about it every week, is we've got great people like Kate Truck that are going to train us this morning that share their perspectives on different things that are working for them in their business. So I want all of you, as you're listening to the call, you always can walk away if you're open-minded and really listen and engage in the call, to take a tip or two away that can really resonate with you and help you build your business. So not everything that everybody does is exactly the same. We're all unique, and so we implement things differently that work for us. So really listen to what Kate has to say, because I bet she has a couple of things that you can take away and implement today in your business. So Kate, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Nina. Happy Monday, everybody. You know, when Tammy asked me to talk about recruiting, I got to tell you, I feel like it's super straightforward, and it's an issue of, I think, deciding to build your organization is a conscious decision that you make. And, you know, not everybody wants to build an organization. You know, I mean, I have people on my team from success, right? You know, I have everybody from people who are hitting it hard full time, who want, you know, wine domination, such as myself, to people that are approaching the business on a very part-time basis, who really want to do a tasting a week, who aren't looking to add any kind of stress to their life, and that is all okay. But what I tell everyone who's coming into the business is, whether you want to build a big organization or not, no matter what, you should be setting your sights on team leader. Because to me, it's just a little bit crazy to leave that much money on the table, and make no mistake, it's a lot of money. So one of the things that, so I'm going to kind of start at the end of this and then backtrack a little bit. You know, one of the things that I share with people who are coming on the team right in the onset is I make sure they understand the difference in their income based on being a team leader versus being a consultant. So when you can increase, and this is why I did it, you guys, when you know, I didn't really realize, I guess I didn't know that I was going to end up building a significant team. Now I'm thrilled, and, you know, I want more than 1,000 people on my downline. But in the beginning, I looked at the compensation plan and I said, hold the phone. I can increase my base commission rate from 20% to 29%. That's monstrous. That's a 45% increase in your commission rate at base, right? So that was my motivation. I said, surely I can find, you know, 3 other people who want to sell wine with me. And of course I did. So I think it's important for everybody to really understand that, you know, that is an additional almost $100 per 1,000 that you sell every month. So if you sell $3,000, you're going to make an extra $270 on that commission, just because you've recruited 3 people. So so to me, that's a really important piece of it. So what I want to cover today is 3 points. I want to talk about mindset. You know, and it's funny because I always talk about the fact that I'm not a big mindset person, but in some ways I am. But I'm more systems and processes, right? So as an entrepreneur, I think that one of the biggest challenges people face is dealing with ambiguity. So if you come out of a regular work environment, odds are you've got somebody either right over your shoulder or somewhere back there, making sure that you're staying in the parameters of what the job description entails, right? And for a lot of people, in the absence of that, they can tend to be a little bit paralyzed, or at least impeded in terms of their growth. So I think it's very important that, you know, you have these things set for yourself in terms of, what are the things that I should be doing regularly? I normally say every day, but it's not necessarily every day. That's one of the beautiful things about our business. I do believe, and I certainly do touch my business every day, 7 days a week. But to me, touching my business might be having, you know, a phone conversation with somebody who's interested in the business. It might be a quick touch base. It's not an 8-hour day like it is in, you know, a corporate environment. So what are the things you do regularly, right? So it's mindset, it's consistency, and it's follow-up that I want to talk about today. So in terms of mindset, I think it's super important to understand that um, if you are looking to build an organization, recruiting needs to be just an everyday part of the job. I think that where some people can struggle is, they may not do any kind of recruiting activity for a period of months, and then maybe they're working toward a trip or working toward promoting or whatever the motivation is. All of a sudden they're like, ooh, I better start looking at trying to get some people on my team. And the problem with that is you lose momentum. Momentum is everything in business. It takes a lot of effort to build it. It takes a lot of effort to impede it. So I think it's very important that no matter what, you've got steady recruiting practices going on, because the other thing is, if you're not consistent with it, you're also probably not consistently good at it, right? So if you're having those kinds of conversations about the business, or inquiry about people that may be interested in the business, if you're having those regularly, they're going to roll off your tongue much more smoothly. And if that happens, you're coming across more confident. If you're coming across more confident, you're going to get more yeses. That's all there is to it. So that's one part of the mindset component. The other part is, how do you look at the world? Because to me, prospects are everywhere. So it's the idea of an abundance mindset. So whether you're prospecting for people interested in the business or people interested in hosting tastings for you, I've had a lot of people say, well, what happens when you run out of hosts? I'm like, good Lord, have you ever driven your car down the street? There are so many people in this world. How do you run out of people? It's just not going to happen. But you have to look at the world through that lens and be looking for prospects, right? So while this business, in my opinion, is a simplistic business in terms of the tenets that you need to be successful, it's not always easy. And mindset's critical. So you have to be able to understand that those people that are around you can be prospects, but you have to be looking at the world through that lens. And when you do that, you're gonna end up generating a lot of conversations. And I can't stress enough, the last part of the mindset piece is be ready for no. I've had people on my team that tell me, oh, this doesn't work. Well, how do you know it doesn't work? I did it twice and it didn't work either time. And that's a real challenge and a real problem for people when you just start throwing things at the wall. And if it doesn't stick immediately, you throw something else at the wall. You have to be consistent and you have to be ready for no. And what I mean by that is 80% of the people that you ask if they're interested in the business are probably going to tell you no. 80% of the 20% that tell you yes are probably going to tell you no in the conversation. And you have to know that going in. You're going to get a lot of no's. That's the whole idea of go for the no. But you have to be consistent. You can't give up. You have to keep going. And this is kind of my segue into the consistency component of the business. So my question is, what are your recruiting practices? What do you do to generate those conversations? Because remember, if 80% of the people are going to say no to the conversation, and then 80% of those people are going to say no to the business, and notice nobody's saying no to you. And that's a really, really important thing to keep in mind in sales in general. The no is not a personal rejection. It's a rejection of the opportunity that's being offered. So it's important to separate that, because otherwise you can put yourself into a mindset where every no is a dagger to the heart. And that's hard to live with. So please remember, those no's aren't no to you personally. They're no's to whatever opportunity you're offering. So, the question is, what are your practices? For me, I really have, I have three pretty consistent recruiting practices that I do. The first one is the 3 questions, which for me was a game changer at my wine tastings. I ask them 100% of the time. Because any time that I've said to myself, oh my gosh, I've only got 3 people. We've all gone to tastings where, as Diane Nazek says, it's you, me, and the cat. So, I'll go into tastings, there'll be 3 people there. And I think to myself, I've already talked to the host about it. She wasn't interested. And this happened to me last weekend, you guys. I went in, I had literally 3 people there. It was the host, it was a past host, and it was the host's mom. And I asked the 3 questions. And of course, I ask every host, if they're interested in learning more about the business the week of the tasting. And I tell them if they do decide to get involved, all of the bookings that we get from the wine tasting will go to you. Some people give away the tastings. I myself do not. This is my livelihood. This is my full-time gig. I'm not giving away my wine tastings, but I will give away the bookings. And it's important not to be afraid to give away the bookings as well, but that's a whole different call. So in this case, I did my 3 questions. The 3 questions are different for a lot of different people, right? The first question that I ask is, what was your favorite part of the tasting and what was your favorite wine? I'll be honest with you. I don't really care about that question. It's a filler question, if I'm being honest. My second question that does bring me some results is, if you're not booking a tasting with me today, would you like me to follow up with you about hosting in the future? A lot of times I can take the yeses to that and convert them into a tasting at checkout, because they may say something like, because I'll ask them, so when do you think you want to host? And they'll say something like April. And I'll say, well, if April is your intention, then you should really book it today. Because I'm booking April and May right now. So you can get a lot of wine tastings out of that, a lot of bookings that you may not otherwise get. Third question is the one that really matters to me. And it's, are you interested in learning more about the business? It's either a yes, a no, or a maybe. I spell maybe, Y-E-S. So I treat them exactly the same way I treat a yes. And I'm very casual about it, you guys. I say, great, let's go ahead and set up a time to talk now. I can share some details. You can ask me whatever you like, and you can decide whether or not it sounds good to you. It is super casual. So in this case, last weekend, these 3 questions, the host answered yes after she had answered no like 3 times. So I had my conversation with her. She has not yet joined the business. The same thing happened about a month ago. That host said no, no, no. By the end of the tasting, she said, maybe I should be doing this. She joined the business. She's already got 1,700 in sales in. She's got 8 tasting on the books. And as soon as she closes her 4th tasting, she's going to hit step 1. So the consistency component is absolutely critical. We are not mind readers. And when we start making decisions for our guests, it's gonna run into trouble in a couple of ways. Number one, you're gonna miss the people who say yes because it is oftentimes not who you think it is. And number 2, if you're sitting in a room and your wine consultant offers the opportunity to the person next to you, but not you, that can be a little bit offensive. She must not think I have the right stuff. So you should be offering it all the way across, right? Because those 80%, you're gonna miss the 20% who say yes if you think you know who's gonna say yes. So offer it to everybody. The other thing I would say in terms of consistency is managers recruit, leaders build systems that recruit. Let me just say that once more. Managers recruit, leaders build systems that recruit. So for every single no that we get, we should be turning that no into a who do you know, right? So when somebody says it's not right for me right now, I had a no this morning. It was my 3rd conversation with this gal. She's not ready. And I said, you know what, I totally get it. It's got to be right for you. I'm not here to try to talk you into joining this business. But let me ask you this. Who do you know who's looking to supplement their income or who you think would really enjoy this business? And lo and behold, she knew someone and sent me a 3-way text. So the power of one is huge in life and certainly in this business. So to me, whether it's for hosting a tasting or somebody interested in the business, turn every no into a who do you know. Managers recruit, leaders build systems that recruit. And essentially what that means is a referral program. Ask the people you know to help you build your business, and you're going to increase those conversations dramatically. Finally, the last thing that I want to talk about is follow-up, because no, as I've already kind of cited twice, is not always a no. So I took a look at my last handful of people who joined my team, and I just want to kind of share with you where they've come from. So the first person I've been talking to for 4 months, he said to me he said, I just really need a kickstart. He's like, I've got a lot going on. I'm not going to share all the details, but I said to him, he said, I know I have to reach out and try to get people and try to find hosts. And I said, you just need to host a wine tasting and invite all those people so they know what they're signing up for. By the end of the conversation, he joined the business and we booked his launch. So I've been talking to him for 4 months. The person before him, I've been talking to for a little over a year, and she finally pulled the trigger. The person before that flipped the host at the tasting, right? Person before that was a corporate lead. And then finally, the person before that was someone that I worked with at David's Bridal 100 years ago. So my people come from, and the reason that I got her is because she just commented on one of my Facebook posts. And it seemed like she was interested. I hadn't talked to her in several years. So I immediately sent her a Facebook message and said, hey, seems like this might be something you're interested in. Do you want to chat? She said, yes, the rest is history. So that's what I mean to come full circle back to the mindset component, right? You can't just look at people and decide whether or not they're interested. When people make comments, you got to see everybody as a prospect. You know, when I was in the salon business 100 years ago, it was hysterical because you get cues from people if you're listening with the right mindset. And I would actually hear hairdressers, I would hear clients in chairs say things like, gosh, my hair is really dry. Immediately, you know, you can sell that person a ton of product, right? But a lot of hairdressers would say, I know, mine too. So it's really, really important that you set yourself up for success by looking at the world through the right lens, by listening to the world with the right audio, and understand that prospects are everywhere. And you have to be consistent and you have to follow up and you'll build your team. I mean, it's a marathon. I get a ton of no's. This gal that I was so excited about today, I got a no, and you know what? That's okay because she's going to give me another conversation. And sometimes that doesn't even happen. But entrepreneurialism requires buoyancy. It requires us to not allow ourselves to become discouraged. And if you're not, great things happen in your business. You just have to be dogged about it. And that's all I have to say about that.
Hey, Kate, great call. Thank you for all these really wonderful tips. I got a question for you. So when you do your 3 questions, do you do them during the tasting or do you do them in your full service checkout or both?
So I do them right when I transition into taking orders. So I always have the menu on top of the order form. I have all of my guests at the tasting put their profiles into the app before the tasting starts. That saves a ton of time at checkout because then you can just go ahead and pull them up, look them up. So I do that in the beginning. So once I transition, I pretty much say the same thing every time. I say, you guys, the bad news is that's our lineup for today. The good news is there's still wine, yay. Under your menus, you all have order forms. If you would take a second and just put your name at the top of that order form right now, that would be great. And I stop talking. So in this area is where I slow it down. One of the main reasons that people struggle with the 3 questions is a lot of us tend to be afraid of silence. And you guys, in selling, silence is an incredible tool to use. And so I slow down and I make sure everybody has actually put their name on there. And then I say, before we move on and I share how to place your orders today, I just have 3 very simple questions for you because your feedback is really important to me. And I hold up the interest form and I show them where the 3 numbered lines are, because if they don't know where they are and they can't find them, they won't answer the questions. And then I start question number 1 and I ask the question and then more silence. And I will tell you that if somebody isn't writing, I turn and I make direct eye contact with them and smile. And the thing is, you guys, like is critical in sales. People have to like you. By this point, I have made people laugh. It's been an engaging experience because the more people like you, the more liberties you can take in terms of being an assertive salesperson, right? And so I will stop and I will just look at them. And then I might sometimes, depending if I think I can get away with it, say, Mary, are you going to answer my question? And they're like, oh, fine. And then I say question number 2 and I stop. So you have to give people the time to answer the questions. So they answer all the questions. And then in the full service checkout, that's when I take their orders, I book their tastings, hopefully. And then I look at the questions and say, okay, so you've answered maybe. And that's where I set up the time for the follow-up conversation, usually within 48 hours.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, it's funny, way back when, years ago, when a gal shadowed me at one of my tastings, she was a consultant and she was struggling with some things in her business. And at the end, she said, oh my God, she goes, you basically just told everybody what to do. And I said, that's it.
Right.
You're there to give them the information and they don't really know what to do. So you're just kind of like with the questions, giving them a pause, you're telling them to answer the question so that you can get that information back. I love it.
And you know, Nina, I think that's important in our business, in selling in general, and in our business all the way around, is You want to make it easy for your customers to make the decisions that you want them to make. So I ask a lot of funneling questions, right? Like I never even tell my hosts about all the different samplers. You know, I narrow it down. Is it going to be all ladies that you're tasting, a mix of men and women? Is it going to be red and white drinkers? Okay, great. I suggest we go with the original and let's talk about an add-on. Like if you overwhelm people with big, broad, open-ended questions, it makes it difficult for them. Same thing with dates. People say, yeah, I want to host in April. Awesome. Here are my dates. Which one works for you? So funneling it down into making the answer that you want easy for them to give you.
Exactly. So Margie, are there any questions for Kate? I'm on my phone, so I can't see anything.
Oh, I see him. I got him.
Hey, Kate.
Sandy, my second question is, if you're not booking a tasting with me today, would you like me to follow up with you about hosting in the future? Thanks for the accolades, everybody. You're awesome.
Hey, Kate. Question for you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
When they say, this is Tasha, when they say no at your checkout, what do you say to them if they say no, they don't want to join? Or I don't want information.
Okay, great. If you know anybody who's looking to supplement their income or you think would love a position like this, please send them my way.
Okay.
Like, here's the thing. One of the beautiful things is when you're casting a wide net, you guys, and this is going to be a little bit different than some mindsets and some strategies. So you got to do what works for you, but especially in terms of joining the business, when it's a no, it's a no. That's why I ask everybody, because I get a lot of no's. But what I find is when you get the yeses or maybes, they're a lot more apt to actually launch their business and do the job.
Sure. You had said you overcome a lot of no's, so I was wondering how you led them into the next conversation of consider it later or whatever.
Yeah, great question. So that's more with my hosts.
Okay.
A lot of time, because the week of the tasting, I always ask my hosts, are you interested in learning more about the business? Hey, you have a great turnout at your tasting. I think you would love this. Are you interested in learning more? Sometimes they will say no. Like my gal that joined the team who's killing it right now, she said no. And then I always ask again when I'm in the taste, before we get started and I'm aside with the host, I say to them, I don't remember if I asked you, but I think you might love this bit. So I act like I don't know because I'm asking again, right? Because I think you might love this bit. I don't say I think you'd be great at it. I make it about them. I don't make it about me, right? I think you would, you'd be great at it. That's more about me. I say I think you would love it, right? And like this last girl, again, right before her tasting, she said no. And we do raffle tickets. So a gal on my team, I should have actually included this in my talk here. A gal on our team in Washington State, brand new to the business, shared with us that she does raffle tickets. I had never done that. And this is going to be the answer to Sandy asking if I do the 3 questions without playing the court game. So again, we all have our own avenues to success. I don't play the court game, and I know anything I don't do that you guys should be do it all. Figure out what works for you. My version of that is I picked it up from Jen Brantley on our team. Is I bring raffle tickets and I say to people throughout the tasting today, I have these raffle tickets. I give away some tchotchke, nothing big. And I say there's a couple of different ways for you to earn a ticket. If you book a tasting with me, you earn a ticket. If you join my wine club, you earn a ticket. If you ask me a question about my business, you earn a ticket. And if you amuse me, you earn a ticket. And I don't always use the last one. The group has to be right to say something like that. And so I give away these tickets. And in this case, in her tasting, a lot of her people were asking questions about the business. And at one point, she's sitting in her chair in the corner and she goes, maybe I ought to be doing this. I said, you should be doing this. And that turned 3 no's into a yes with her. So that's the follow-up. It's not really overcoming a stall. It's understanding that no's don't always remain no's. So each point of contact, each touch point with that person, ask again. Why not? But what I don't do is when somebody says, occasionally if it's a time thing, I tell people, just say, listen, I'm not trying to push you, but just so you know, our busiest people are our best people in this business. So everything you need to happen to grow your business here happens inside the tasting. So it really isn't a big time consuming business. So I will try to overcome with that, but that's about it.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate that very much.
Any other questions? Well, Kate, thank you so much. Really appreciate all the tips. You guys, if you want, go back and re-listen to it because there was a lot of really good information in there. And sometimes you need to hear it a couple of different times to really kind of catch something that resonates with you. It will be posted in the Monday Night Live crew page. Leaders, please share it with your team so that they can get this information for people that weren't able to jump on the call today. And don't forget that we have Monday Night Live tonight I'm in Mountain Time, so it's 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And I believe that Terry Foley and Cindy Blakely, I believe, are leading the call tonight. So I'm excited to hear that. And also, don't forget, it's month end. Magical, magical things happen on the week of month end. I call it honey pot. And the honey pot is, if you just dig into the honey pot and get that little great juicy honey out of the bottom there, you scrape out the barrel, you're going to get magical things. Follow up with these people. You might be surprised who might want to jump on board with you this week and become a wine consultant, or you might get some extra outside sales or extra bookings, but dig into that honey pot. And we'll see you tonight on Monday Night Live.